already passed. So you might be wondering, well, which states have passed it? Let me just give you that list. Georgia, Alaska, Alabama, Florida, Indiana, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Tennessee, North Dakota, Arizona, Missouri, Texas, Arkansas, Mississippi, Utah, Nebraska, Wisconsin, West Virginia, and South Carolina. We passed in those last 4 states just last year. It was a banner year for Convention of States. And people are starting to get the message. Legislators are starting to listen to their constituents, and polling reveals that a supermajority of voters support Convention of States.
Florida's been a leader on this, having certified amendments to term limit members of Congress and a balanced budget amendment to the U.S. Constitution. Now, I'm fighting to do both of those in Washington, but there's much more resistance there because people want to continue business as usual. So, given that Florida's taken the lead as governor, I'll work with governors and legislators in other states to move the Article 5 process forward. We have to go around Congress to impose term limits and a balanced budget amendment, then we need to do that for the future of our country.
And actually in 2007, check the record, Representative Rick Jorb brought a resolution to rescind all Article 5 application, and I voted for that resolution. But one day a constituent came to me about 3 years ago now, and asked if I would sit down with him for tea. So I sat down with him, and he asked me that day what I knew about Convention of States. I said I don't know a ton about it. Historically, I've been opposed. But he asked me if I would look into it and get back to him. And so I honestly and sincerely looked at the material that he gave me, and that's when I went down the rabbit hole, if you will, to look at what it was about. Began to read books on this subject, particularly Professor Nadelson's The Law of Article 5. I didn't just read the book, I read the footnotes to the book, I read all the references in there. I began to search the records of opponents and look into the original documentation of those opponents, and came to the conclusion, an epiphany if you will, that the state legislature is given a federal function to oppose the federal government, to be a check on its power when they are out of control. I had the epiphany that it was my obligation and my responsibility to address federal power in this capital. And so I dedicated myself to that cause, as many of you know.
But I'm here as someone from Washington, D.C. who knows that town pretty well, just to assure you of one thing. Washington is incapable of fixing itself. It's not that it doesn't want to. It's not that there aren't good people down there. There are a lot of good people. You may hear today that, we just need to elect good people. There are a lot of good people on both sides of the aisle who really care and love this country. Don't doubt that. But the system is broken. As Senator McGilvert, I was an opponent of this proposal for a long time. And what actually flipped me and got me to be a proponent was actually the previous administration. I've been in Congress a long time, and I sort of knew that Democrats like to centralize power, and that was a good fight, and we disagreed, and one was more centralized power, and one was more decentralized, and that was a good battle. But then I saw President Trump come in, and I supported a lot of what he wanted to do. I just didn't support how he did it. We shouldn't be running by executive orders. We shouldn't be running by rulemaking that's outside of the scope of rulemaking. The president shouldn't be able to forgive $500 billion in debt with a wave of a pen. But more and more and more, that's happening. I don't understand how that doesn't scare you.
George Mason, whom Thomas Jefferson quoted as saying is the wisest man of his generation, rose to plead for one more proposal. He expressed his fear that the federal government would eventually abuse the balance of powers and would need to be reined in by the states. That would be us. He argued that a runaway government would not be willing to discipline or correct itself or agree to measures that would restrict its powers. We all see that. This proposal, accepted by all the delegates, created a second method to proposing amendments to the Constitution through the states via the Convention of States.
The history of Convention of States in America is as old as our colonial roots. There's no historical record of any convention devolving into a runaway convention or them talking about anything off topic of the call.
Just so the audience knows, we've had a successful day today in Kansas as well, just working on some procedural matters for Convention of States. And getting ready to file our resolution there as well.
Hello, everybody, and welcome aboard. So, yeah, we do have more info on Convention Estates, and I probably could have covered this yesterday, so I'm kind of kicking myself. But YouTube gives me just as many alerts when Convention Estates goes live as they give you when I go live. So, in the end, it is what it is. But fortunately, I do talk with some people. Another shout out to Mike Arnold. He confirmed it for me today that there was big news in Montana last week that I thought might have happened, wasn't sure if it happened, but I just never got alerts for that content, and I was kind of dependent on it. So, but Montana actually is the first victory of the year. It passed committee in Montana, so which means it's going to hit the floor, right? So for those of you who've been following for a while, you know this process. Last year, the committee shunned it. All right, this year you can go and watch the actual committee hearing. That I took some of the Patriot citizens that spoke before the committee, but it was 3 hours of just Patriots coming up and letting them know. And there was some John Birch people in between, but for the most part, once again, same as in New Hampshire, it was Patriot after Patriot, coming up and in an educated manner, dropping some history on that committee, and they just did a phenomenal job again. So we're getting to the point where this is the most wonderful time of year for me. Because the legislature's open, and then in the next like last year came and these little wins started coming, and then all of a sudden it was like, whoa, Nebraska's on board. Whoa, what is it? West Virginia's on board. Whoa, we got South Carolina on board, and it was just like one after the other until we ended the year with four. And they were all in succession, and everything shakes. And that was the most, I think. I guess someone from Cause can correct me. I'm, as the movement goes, I'm kind of new to it. It's only coming on 2 years for me, where this has been going on since 2013. But as far as I know, 4 in 1 year is somewhere close to tied for best ever, if not best ever. And the momentum is picking up. And we've got, I want to say Rita Peters said 20 or so coming up this year. So the petition is filed in 49 states. So it could end up being more than that. But I think 20 where, they feel some sense of confidence that these legislatures are going to take it up. So it's an exciting time for America. It's an exciting time. To the international folks that watch us, I don't quite get what I'm saying when I talk about this stuff, and you think that, because you think that our government cannot be reeled in and that it's just too big and too powerful, blah, 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 blah. Like, this is the freaking process that I'm talking to you about, and it's moving forward. And it's not going to, you're not going to hear about it in the media until we hit about 25. That's my guess, is that it'll be 25. Everyone's got to bet on a different number from when the media machine really gets triggered, and you start hearing about Convention Estates every day, and these John Birch Society guys are on CNN and Hannity all freaking week long to talk about all their madness and their nonsensical, non-historically founded theories. And it's great to watch. It's great to watch the grassroots go up there and just drop dime on this ignorant concept of runaway convention. And and you see more and more. And I played in the beginning the one state senator who's just another one who was like, I was not for this. As a matter of fact, at one point I voted against this. And the reason he did, just so you understand how this battle is being fought, is JBS, right? And Ken Quinn told me this. He was a part of JBS. He's the one that I showed you yesterday that was testifying in New Hampshire. And he was a part of JBS, and he explained how it works. And they'll show up to these senators who, and I explained to you the difference, right? The state legislators, They're regular folks. Like, they understand the Constitution, but they're not scholars. So when you hit them with, and they may be scholars even, but they're not all constitutional scholars. And when it comes to Article 5 and the second clause of it, it's never been used before in history. So it's not something that every average American just understands and knows about. It requires some reading. And what happens is these JBS folks, the JBS folks, they get to these guys, hand them DVDs, hand them these pre-made propaganda, and scare the crap out of them about a convention. And when it comes time to actually, hold vote on it, and cause grassroots are talking about it, these guys never took the time to go look into it and read into it. And they looked at JBS as if this was a legitimate organization, which it is not. Okay. And the reality of the matter is they believed it. And so, it makes it more challenging because you now have to overcome that. And that's what you're hearing from state legislatures across the country now. I saved one. I think it might have been Nebraska. It might have been South Carolina, actually, where there were a couple of these reps who were like, both of them were like, just like this guy said in Montana in the beginning of the intro, at the beginning of the ticker, it's like, I was against this before I read my way into being for it. And that's what everyone needs to do. And we don't have a ton of time. All right. We don't have a ton of time, but we all know, as conservative minded people, okay. And even if you're not conservative in the full sense, maybe you vote Democrat, but you still love your country. Like, you haven't totally sold your soul, and you love your country. The whole point is to ask questions, right? The whole point is to question everything. And Santorum there had mentioned, that what turned him over, because he too was not a big fan of convention estates. What turned him over were all the executive orders from Trump. I put that in specifically for Trump voters, because I think it's important that Trump voters, myself included, acknowledge, and I was saying it the whole time, how creepy it is that, and it didn't start with Trump, but he didn't end it either, how many executive orders these presidents are issuing out on significant things. Like, it's a problem. It's a problem. And just because it's our guy or your guy or, whatever, doesn't make it okay. Obama did it. Trump did it. Bush did it. Like, not okay. And it got progressively worse as the presidents went on. And what did Biden do? What did Trump do? The first thing he did when he came in, he erased all of Obama's executive orders. And what did Biden do? As soon as he came in, he erased all of Trump's executive orders. And that's one reason why that's just not how we govern in a constitutional republic. And so, looking at Montana snuck up on me anyway. I mean, I'm sure the folks at Cause Action, they're dialed into all these places. So, like, they're dialed into all 50. But like for me, Montana wasn't really on my, like, I was thinking North Carolina. I was like, maybe Kansas, which Rita Peters said we had a big win behind the scenes in Kansas too. So, and what she means by that is there's a lot of back work that gets done before a resolution gets actually put to committee. So the fact that they're saying we had a win, she didn't get into details with it, but I'll still take it. If she thinks it's a win, I think it's a win. They're on the inside. So that means Kansas is looking good too, which would make two. Right. And now with New Hampshire yesterday, they're going to meet on February 3rd. I'm going to be in South Carolina on February 3rd. So shout out to South Carolina. My brother and I are looking for a nice large piece of land about an hour or so from the coast to work on our family compound that we want to build. So we're going down there to actually check out some properties and look at some things. And my cousin lives there already, so we're gonna get with him, and we're all gonna do a little tour and check it out. So I may be there when this goes down, and the properties we're looking at are a large acreage of undeveloped land. So it may be that I don't have cell signal, so I don't really know what I'm walking into yet. But I guarantee you, as soon as I get word on the 3rd, even if it's just me walking through the forest, with my cell phone for the cam, I will absolutely go live and let you folks know how they decided, because they're going to do what's called an executive vote or executive vote. And it's basically, I don't really care for it much, but it is how they do business there in New Hampshire. They're basically going to go in secret and sit down, discuss what they heard in the testimonies, and then vote on it. So we should know if it's going to hit the floor in New Hampshire by next week. So this stuff's moving rapidly, right? It's moving rapidly. So that's what I'm saying. Make sure you follow. And when you follow, as I explained yesterday, there's settings in the follow, right? So just click and follow. You may not get alerts to know that we're on live. You may not get alerts to see what's going on. And we all know that we don't think to go to people's pages to, oh, what's going on this guy's page, right? Like, you get an alert and you decide at that moment, do I want to hear this or do I not want to hear this? So if you want the alerts, whether it's YouTube or Facebook, you got to actually go, and even with the bell in YouTube, it's going to ask you, do you want alerts sometimes or do you want alerts all the time? This is the season where you want alerts all the time, because it can happen at any moment, and you're going to want to know, how this momentum is building, because it matters. This is the most epic thing, folks. All right. And I'm not saying we're going to call I'm not saying we're getting all 34 this year. We could theoretically, but you guys would really have to activate for that to happen. But the point is, we made more progress last year than we had in a long time. And the momentum is only growing. Okay. Every new WEF video that comes out, every new explanation of things like polycrisis and whatnot, all of this new nonsense, and them coming out and scripting for us the dystopian future that they see for us. Every time something new like that comes out, the momentum grows again. All right, every time. And don't think that these state legislatures don't see this, because they do. And that's that, along with our grassroots, the gentleman that I put on, I'm sorry, I don't have his name memorized and it was a little tricky, but the guy at the beginning of the intro ticker was one of the state senators there, and he's been a sponsor of this for like 3 years. And the process he described as to coming over to promote Convention of States, which he has been an active promoter of it. After being against it, he became an active promoter of it. All right. And the way that he went about that was, one of his constituents asked him to just sit down and have a cup of tea. And I don't know why tea. It's very British. No insult to the British folks that we have. We got a lot of British followers in the UK, but I'm a coffee guy, and I don't really know what that was all about. But in the end, he agreed. They sat down over tea. It wasn't like a special interest constituent. It wasn't like, the guy didn't pay 10 grand to sit down with him. He just asked him, and the guy had some time and said, yeah, let's go have some coffee, or let's have some tea. And so they sat down and had a respectful conversation about it. And he told him, yeah, I've never been in support of this. And the constituent just asked him, like, hey, here's some information on it. The only thing I'm going to ask you to commit to me is that you look into this, like thoroughly look into this, and weigh both sides, and then tell me, that you're still against it. And that's all any of us need to do. Because when the truth is on your side, all right, like the John Birch Society has gotten away with this stuff. The Publius Holders, the George Soroses of the world, they've gotten away with this stuff because people aren't doing their reading. And we assume, when we hear fancy titles and this and that someone is in the know, and that someone is trustworthy, and that they know more than we do. And we should never assume that. All right. You may not be a historical scholar, but you know how to read, right? You know how to read. So as long as and if you don't know how to read, have someone read it to you. But in the end, you know how to read. So do the reading, right? When you hear them saying this stuff, like, listen to John Birch, listen to him, and then go and look. When they give you one of their quotes, go and look it up and read the entire context so that you know what that quote really means. And it doesn't take you long to see that they're lying to you. It doesn't take you long to realize that the quote they gave you, while it sounded impactful, was completely out of context and was meaningless. It actually meant the exact opposite of what they insinuate that it meant. And that will go down with every quote, every clip, everything that they give you. If you have time, whether it's YouTube, Facebook, or Rumble, you'll see I have a series, Debunking the Runaway Convention series. In that series, I debunk a JBS video where they're trying to claim that Antonin Scalia, a justice who most conservatives, most people in law, period, because even Ruth Bader Ginsburg respected this man, and it doesn't get more left than her. This man absolutely was pro-convention of states, and they tried to twist because he made a comment that they took out of context. They tried to do a whole video making it sound like he wasn't, and use that one snippet to try and make their case, all the while accusing accusing convention of states action of taking the rest of it out of context. You'll see, and I leave the source videos in there so you can watch the full videos for yourself. All right, but the point is, it was mischievous what they were doing. It was mischievous. And let me see here. We got some Joseph Roginski. Term limits at the top of the agenda, please. Yes, term limits are huge. They're huge. I don't put them first, though, in my head, but I understand. Everybody's got their own thing. For me, it's the other two that are the huge ones. Term limits is really big because it's going to instantly eliminate the McConnells of the world, the Nancy Pelosi's, the Feinsteins, the ones that have been in there causing all the poison. It's going to get rid of those people. But the reason why I think fiscal restraints and government overreach of authority is and scope of authority is more important is because they hit on bigger issues. They hit on issues that even if the term limits didn't get through, like if there's a balanced budget amendment with teeth that like has legitimate teeth in it, shortly written, very broad, very general, not a lot of wing, like very sweeping, right? Like the right to bear arms, right? Shall not be infringed. Done. We're done. Shall not be infringed. Oh, wait. But, sir, you could interpret that as this and this and this. Is what you're doing going to infringe it? Well, yes, but then it's a no. One of those kind of deals, right? You get something with teeth in there, and even those people can't do anything. And the strength of the term limits, really, the real beauty of the term limits, though, is that it goes beyond elected officials, that it impacts deep state, not just the head of the CIA or the head of, but that guy second in charge who doesn't get appointed. It keeps getting rehired by the next appointee and ends up being there for 30, 40 years, who holds the real power in the organization. Okay? That guy, right? The guy who walks up with the black budget, right? And that nobody reads and nobody can know what's in. And then they authorize payment to it. And then the guy walks away into a dark room and nobody sees him again. That guy, term limits, right? That's the impactful part of that to me. But let me see what else we got going on here. Simmons Farm, woohoo! Look at the map, Article 5, baby. Yeah, absolutely. The map is growing, and it's getting me fired up. It's getting me really fired up. We've got a grip. We've got like 5 or 6 of these states where it's already passed one house. We're just waiting for it to pass the other. So that's encouraging as well. Like, look, if we could pull off 6 states this year, that's huge. We pull off 6 states, and John Birch Society will be on MSNBC every freaking day for the next 2 years. Maybe not 2 years because we'll probably get it done by then, right? So no, it'll probably happen right around 2024. So, but look, Ron DeSantis has spoken out loudly about this. I put him in the beginning of the intro ticker, and I'm gonna do more on him as well. But Ron DeSantis has spoken out, an advocator of this, which is phenomenal. We haven't gotten anything from Trump, and I don't really care. I'm cool with Trump not saying anything about it because I don't want to start the divisiveness. Right now, we're on a roll of unity. We're bringing people on board. The statistics are in our favor. Democrat and Republican voters alike are in favor of these amendments. And that's where we need to keep our heads focused, right? We've got the Kennedy Democrats, the sane ones, right? Even though we'll never agree with them on many, 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 many issues, it doesn't matter. Like, this is one of those situations to me where like I always say, there's Americans and there's Marxists, right? And it's like the whole Democrat Republican thing. It's like we can yell at each other about issues all day, but if a Marxist steps in, that's when we'd be like, hey, it's like you and your brother arguing. It's like we could argue and insult each other all day, but if an outsider comes in and tries to do it, now it's like, wait a minute, we're teaming up on this guy. That's the way I see it. that the same Democrats really, they don't need to come. They don't even need to vote Republican. But they need to vote for the convention of states. They need their votes to impact locally the convention of states. And that's, this is one of those things they'll talk about 250 years from now, where they're teaching in textbooks, about how the people came together at a point, where like right at the state, it'll be the lesson after they teach about this Marxist experiment and all the doo-doo-doos that got brainwashed into thinking men can be pregnant, right? When they're done teaching that and the kids are done laughing, then they're going to go on and teach how we got out of it, right? And this is going to be the story of that. Because once this is done, these three topics don't solve everything, but they solve a lot. They solve a lot, and more importantly, the millions of people that are already gathered under this across the country, and the millions that are about to join in the coming year or two, like, in the end, those people aren't going away. So when this convention's over, it's not like Article 5 says you can hold a convention once. Like, that's not how it works. Like, in the end, if we want to go ahead and be like, listen, now we got teeth, right? Now when we turn around and we tell the federal government, look, we're not happy with this border situation. Like, we're going to need you to figure this out quick. And if it doesn't get resolved quick, we might have to take that power from you because you won't exercise it. Like, I mean, hopefully it never comes to that where we actually had to call a convention on something like that. But in the end, like, the mere fact that we could threaten that and be serious, like, that's one of those ones where it's like you start petitioning, and you get up to like 20 states and they realize, all right, here we go again. And they just secure the border. Like, that's the kind of power, right, that elections can't give you. That's the kind of power that fixes structural damage in the federal government. That's the kind of power that says daddy's in the room when the kid starts playing ball in the house, right? That's that, and the American people are the parent, right? We go in the room, right? So, our kid's been running around playing ball in the house. He breaks mama's vase all the time. He's getting himself in trouble, and we're just letting it happen, or it's just allowed to happen because the maid's not doing anything. The babysitter's not doing anything. Well, now the parents are home, right? And now the kid gets a smack in the head, gets sent to his room, and they take the air out of the ball, right? That's what this is. That's the analogy. Let me get to some of these comments. All right. So, are we the people who are going to be the heroes of history? Absolutely. We're the ones. There is no Superman, folks. There is no Superman. Accountability clause. Yes, absolutely. Danny, how are you today? Danny's been with me mostly. I've been on a roll here. I've been on like every day for, what is it now? Wednesday, Thursday, Fridays. So 4 days in a row I've been on. That's like a record for me in the 2 years that I've been doing this. But lo and behold, here I am. And folks on Rumble, you can go ahead. Oh, here we go. We got Arlo on again. What's up, brother? Arlo is on. He commented on Rumble for those that are on other platforms, saying, what did he miss? You missed Montana had passed committee last week. I missed it. I didn't say it yesterday, so I'm coming on to let everybody know now. Montana's moving forward. So in the past, Montana would not pass committee. They would listen to petition. They would listen to the citizens and then deny them. This year, and I played some in the intro video, although I played some of the intro where they you listen to some of the people speaking. You can catch the full Montana testimonies on YouTube with Convention of States Project. You can go through their channel. You'll find it in there. But it was great testimony. Again, grassroots came out in force. Few dissenters in there, but for the most part, it was grassroots in force. Just regular folks, regular Americans spitting the truth, truth to power, educating these legislators and doing so successfully. And I can tell you, even the senator in there who was co-sponsoring the bill, and I put it in the intro video where he talks about how he used to be against it and now he's for it. That was the grassroots getting to him and getting him to read that. Like, this is the power. Like, this, I just want people to understand. Like, people look at these state legislators like they're the same thing as Congress. They are not. They're not. Those legislators in New Hampshire yesterday, they make $100 a year. That they are straight up, and they don't walk away billionaires. It's nothing like that person who decides to serve for $100 a year. Okay, it's a lot harder to bribe that person than it is to bribe one of the doo-doo-doos in the federal government. That person is not for sale. That person cares about his country so much that he's decided to take time out of his life and his business and his, everything, his family, and to serve a state that he loves. This is why the founders gave them the ultimate authority. And the only thing we need to do as the people is realize that they're the ones who have it. That the ultimate power in this country is not in the deep state, it's not in the presidency, it's not in Congress, and it's not in the courts. It's not in the governorships. It's in the state legislatures. How many of you guys know who your local rep is, right? So that's a challenge, right? Go check it out. Go find out. You can do that. I believe they tell you right there when you go to sign the petition for convention of states in your state that they send a letter to your representative on your behalf, but you should send one as well. Call, leave a voicemail. These guys are local. And depending on what state you're in and what your district is, they're only serving, maybe anywhere from, some districts are as small as a few thousand, some are as big as, 15,000 or so, but or even a little more. But in the end, it's not an enormous number of people that they represent. So they have more time for you. And this is why it's important, maybe if you handwrite a letter, great strategy by Cos, by the way. If you handwrite a letter, I could almost guarantee you they'll read it, right? Just think about that for a second, right? If you receive a letter that's handwritten, right, and it's written to you and there's a return address and you're like, who the hell wrote this letter? Someone hand wrote that? Like, you're going to open it. If for nothing else, curiosity is going to be like, if someone sat down and hand wrote a letter, whatever's inside this envelope means something to them, right? So they get read. And a lot of these, I know you guys don't watch all these testimonials like I do, but like a lot of times in these testimonials over the years, and I've watched many over the years, that have gone back. I mean, like I said, I've been supporting for about 2 years is when my eyes opened, but there's video of these things going on for years back. And a lot of times you'll hear, like, it's not an uncommon thing to hear a legislator say, like, I received all of these handwritten emails, handwritten letters. And it was, it was striking to me that people took so much time to handwrite this stuff. And that's what got that particular, person's attention. And it's, it's important, it's important. So let me see what I got here. Tom Shin over at Facebook. Don't forget to like and share the video. Get the message out. Absolutely, guys. So, whether it's my video, I mean, obviously I want you to share my stuff, right? But like, even if you're just, if you follow Cos Project, right? The Convention of States Project on YouTube. I believe they have a Rumble channel as well. So if you're, if you're anti-YouTube, I get it. And you can find them on Rumble as well. They actually have a MeWe page as well, as do we, by the way. So if you're a MeWe person, we have a MeWe page as well. And we are on Twitter now, by the way, folks. So for those of you, now that Twitter's free, I mean, free thinking and free speaking, we're on Twitter. So I just wanted to let people know that I haven't gotten the blue check yet, but I'm probably going to end up paying for it. But I just want to I want to play with it a little bit and just kind of, get the feel of it. I'm not that overly familiar with the platform, and we just started. So I've got like 15 followers. So it's kind of an ego crush. Although, even though, it says we opened it in October 21. And, I've used it for the last like 2 weeks or so. I've been actively tweeting somewhat, and so, but I'm starting to amp it up, and the followers are creeping up, right? We started with 0 and now it's at like 15. But like, if you guys are on Twitter, if you do Twitter, check us out there. It's at Patriot think tank, and Patriot and think have one. There's one T that connects them. I forget why I had to do that. I think they wouldn't let me have enough characters or something. But that's what it is. But like if you go to the actual page for it, you'll see the same cover you see on our Facebook page and Rumble page and everything else. So definitely take a moment, go follow us on Twitter. It would be much appreciated. Let's see what else we got here. Simmons Farm on Facebook. Thank you, sir, for getting this out. Been yelling loud and proud to everyone that listens to Article 5. Love have to hit the sack. Have a wonderful evening. All right, so an early bedtime. Oh no, actually in the East Coast, it's 9:00 now, right? So yeah, I guess so. I forget that sometimes. It's only 6:00 by me. Here in the People's Republic of California. But I definitely, I'm going to be coming on celebrating these wins regularly. So, whether it's passing committee, passing one house, and then of course, as we add states, we're waiting to see who, as the race for number 20 continues, we're going to see which one pops first. Montana came out of nowhere. So, Montana just came out of nowhere, like, boom, all right, they're in the game now. So, let's get fired up about that. And Howie Richardson over on Facebook says, yeah, it's 9 in Pennsylvania. Yeah, I got you. So yeah, it took me a second to realize that, it makes me laugh because we got people that come on from the UK, Australia. Heck, I had, was it Kazakhstan come on, and like New Zealand, and I forget, and like these folks are watching us at like, it's like 1 a.m. over there. Like, sometimes the hours are crazy, and they'll be like, yeah, I got to get to bed. And I'm like, oh, that's a little early. It's like, yeah, it's 1 a.m. here, and it'll be like 3 p.m. here. So, so there's that. But, Montana, absolutely a win. Remember, guys, every Wednesday. So I'll be popping on live. And I'm going to start working with Convention of States Project to get back on schedule with having guests over, having guests on our Wednesday night lives that are from Convention of States Project. I know we did State Director of Massachusetts, Mike Arnold. I still message with him. He's the one who let me know about the New Hampshire yesterday. And then, hopefully, I don't want to promise it, but I have been in talks that we may get Mark Meckler at some point. I know he's probably in the weeds right now, flying from state to state to state to state to state, and and whatever. But it's not like I'm bringing him in studio. So if he does have some time to carve out for me, I'm going to get in touch with his admins and see if we can get that back up again. Jack was working on that before he left the channel, and I just haven't had the bandwidth to keep that whole thing organized and still produce and get the videos out. So I want to get back on track with that. So expect, that we will get some more cause folks on. We did Silver Dreaming Wolf, and Sheila Malloy was a district captain over in Jersey, and Silver Dreaming Wolf was the or Silver Wolf. Well, Silver Wolf, yeah. So Silver Wolf was over in New York. She's a state director over in New York. And we had a state director from, I believe, Pennsylvania was on. So we had quite a few. And then we kind of, Rhode Island, we had Rhode Island state director. And then we kind of lost our mojo and kind of slowed up because Jack left. And I didn't have the bandwidth to keep up with all the scheduling and everything else. But I'm going to make it an effort. I'm going to make it a priority to get these folks back on, especially now when things are moving. Now that things, the summertime, things are kind of slow with cause, and it is what it is. You got to wait for the legislators to open. But now that they're open, it's we're getting this movement, and I'm fired up. So as soon as when I start getting fired up like this, I could get on it. My energy is just endless. It's endless. So I'm excited about it. You should be excited about it. I'm going to keep you in the loop. And look at, if you know other channels that are not talking about it, mention it in their comments, right? I'm not saying promote my channel in other channels' comments. I mean, that is what it is. I wouldn't, it is what it is. But I don't care if you do that in my comments, but some of these people get tweaky about that. But talk about Convention of States, at least, in their comments, right? Like if you hear a topic that somebody else that's bigger is talking about, and you think convention of states could fix that, talk about it, right? Let them come in, and let the JBS people come in and start to argue with you. Let them do it. Let them do it, because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Let them do it. In the end, it's the truth is on our side, and if the truth is on your side, right, then you don't have to worry about it. And I would say this though: if you're new to Article 5 and you're new to Convention of States and you haven't been in these types of dogfights before with people like JBS, then educate yourself, okay? Because and there's plenty of information out there. Causuniversity.com is a great place to go, where Convention of States Project put this together. When you offer to volunteer with Convention of States, they're going to ask you to take that to watch those videos and go through that process, because right, no one wants someone who doesn't really know what they're doing or know how it works or understand the history behind it. They don't want that person going out and being a crazy advocate, because someone who does have talking points, the same talking points that you could easily learn and understand why they're bogus. But if you don't do that, you'll get caught. And then they'll be like, oh, see, we got you. You can't answer that. When there is an answer, it's just you don't know it, right? So definitely get yourself educated, and Cause University is a great place to do that. I've got a litany of videos as well. I think the way they're the most organized is probably on YouTube, where there's tutorials, there's the stuff on the Runaway Convention, because you'll hear stuff about Publius Hulda. So I take her on. John Birch Society, I got one on them. All things Article 5, Kenneth Quinn, the guy who was doing, and we had him on as well. And he did that great closing yesterday in New Hampshire. He's got a great channel that'll expose JBS for what it is. He used to be in JBS, so he's very well aware of what they are and how they operate. And he's got a ton of history to provide, and some perspective that JBS will never share with you. Right? So lots of places where you can learn. So I'm just saying, go out there and learn, right? Go out there and learn, because it's important, and there's nothing more impactful, right? Like, let's think about the day, right? Where we're no longer waking up saying, what? They're doing what? We got to stop that. We got to stop this. Did you see what they're doing? We got to stop that. Like, those days need to end. And the days that need to begin are the days where these elites start waking up going, what? What are they doing? How did they do that? They're going to do what? Oh my God, what do we do? They're the ones who should be thinking that. And that's what this does. Like, no matter what gets ratified out of the convention, no matter what, let's say we get term limits and a balanced budget, but we don't get much on the overreach, or vice versa, or whatever. However it pans out, if the process completes, the power is established. That's all that needs to take place. Understand, if there were no JBS, no George Soros, none of that, this would have been done already. But we do have that. We do have those mountains to climb, and getting the process done and establishing that it's not going to run away and go crazy, and that the delegates don't gain mystical powers when they get selected, like getting that all complete is enough. That's a huge win right there, because it changes the relationship between federal government and the people forever. Arlo over in Rumble says, where is Ohio? So Ohio is working this year. I haven't heard yet exactly what Ohio's got going on as far as a date or a timeline for their petition, but they absolutely are on the table this year. So we're gonna hear from them at some point. I don't know exactly where they are in the process, but I'll tell you what, Arlo, I will ask around through the contacts that I have within Cause and see if I can get any inside information as to what's going on in Ohio specifically. I know at the end of last year, they were on the table and then they punted. And that's a common thing with a lot of these states. And the reason it is, this is where the grassroots fixes it. Right? This is where the grassroots fixes it, because the grassroots will go ahead and educate these senators and these House reps in these states and teach them, what's BS about JBS, right? And that's, again, that's what I was playing for the that's what I played in the intro. And I'm trying to find, there was one, I have a clip that I saved just because this point comes up so much that like I wanted to just have it on hand, and I'm hoping I didn't delete it out of here. I think I still have, yeah, I have it. So here's to South Carolina. Now, South Carolina had passed last year, okay? But both of these legislators say the same thing. And I cut to the gist of what they were saying and clipped it, but just hear them out.
Again, I studied myself from being opposed initially to being supportive because of I saw how significant the framers considered this to rebalance the power between the federal and the state government, and they were very, very committed to balanced political power, not excessive political power.
I also came around. I was against the Convention of States, but I have also, after reading and reading and reading, have become convinced that you're absolutely correct.
Right? And that's the trend everywhere. That's the trend everywhere. And the reason why those people were absolutely against it is because someone approached them, likely from JBS, and then, spoon fed them preemptively, right? Before anybody even brought the resolution to the table, they spoon fed them their garbage and they believed it. And then when it came to the table, they didn't want to hear it. But then their constituents and the grassroots, just like what happened in Montana, the grassroots approached their representative, who most of whom around the country are approachable, okay, and go to them and just say, look, all I'm asking is that you really, really read into this. And when they're successful at doing that, that is the result that you get. And suddenly, after years of not passing in South Carolina, grassroots finally got them to start reading and looking into it and realizing the power that we have and why it's so important. And the thing is, once you're done, like once you've read Federalist Papers 40 and you've understood that JBS is nonsense, the first convention was not a runaway convention. Once you get through all that, and you realize what it is that's in front of you, you instinctively will want to promote it, right? You will instinctively want to promote it. And for those of you who watch, and I know we got a lot of people who watch who, are in leadership positions and have leadership skills and they know how to manage groups, they know how to manage people, and they know how to earn the respect of the people that they're managing. The movement needs you, right? The entire movement, all of you, that skill set is more important than anything. That skill, look, right? Things cost money. So money's important, no doubt. And grassroots, just basic organization, showing up to events, things like all important. But leadership skills, if you put in the same effort but you have immense leadership skills, you now have motivated more people to do all the important work that's getting done. To all the grassroots folks out there, I can guarantee you, as hard as they work, they're like, I guarantee you all over, they're like, man, if we had another, 150 people or another 200 people, or, if we had that many people, think of how much more we could do. It's that leader who motivates that extra 100, 150 people, 200 people, etc. So, if you have those skills, you should be clicking that volunteer button immediately. Get it, your district captain, wherever you are in the country, you've got a district captain there who will reach out to you and let you know where you can contribute. And maybe they already have leadership, solid leadership in place in that area. If they do, you can work with that leader, right? Like you can still work with that person to help move things forward, right? Help move things forward. because there's nothing more powerful than this movement. Nothing. There's no strategy. There's no strategy for the people to play offense, right? Play offense. There's no strategy outside of this to successfully play offense on any of the major issues that we need to address. And even if you're one of those people who are like, it's all lost. Listen, here's the entire history of the Rothschild family going back to biblical times. Like, that stuff's not relevant. Like, it's cool to know, but it's not relevant. Like, in the end, like, if we take back this nation and we regrow the dollar back to a solid footing based on honest principles, and we start paying down our debts, and we start moving things in the right direction, and reduce the power of the federal government to where it's supposed to be, if those things happen, the Rothschilds are just another rich family somewhere. Like they'll be trying to bribe this guy, that guy, whatever, and maybe they will or won't succeed in an individual case, but they're not buying the whole government anymore. like those days are over. And once the debt is paid, the central bank can be shut down as well. Now that's going to take years, but so what? Let's get started. It's not going to take years to get the dollar back where it belongs. All that's required to do that is people to if we could just get that $31 trillion and counting clock to just stop and move backward, even by a penny, the dollar will shoot through the freaking roof. The dollar will shoot through the roof. And if we continue to pay down on that debt, meaning interest plus principal, if we continue to pay down on that debt and we stop focusing on deficits and start focusing on the debt, if we can do that, it won't matter how much gold China's buying. It won't matter. It won't matter what anybody else in the world does, because in the end, this is the biggest, freest, and most dominant economy that will ever exist. Ever. That will not change. The United States we could shut our borders to the world and survive just fine in our own ecosystem. We have all the freaking resources that anyone needs to live. We have the food resources, we have the energy resources, and we've got the financial resources. We have everything we need to be autonomous. And I'm not saying to go into isolation. I am saying we worry about us, as every country should. Okay, so it's not just like a screw the rest of the world thing. Every country should worry about their own people, and then any excess that can be created once the people are taken care of goes into world trade. Not we do world trade at the expense of the people who are living here. And these principles are sound, and they absolutely are effective. It's just we have to break out of this intertwined global madness network that these people have going on, where one country gets freaking hurt and it affects 25 countries, instead of those 25 countries being totally unaffected and being able to help the one country that's hurt. like globalism has caused every single problem that we face today. This so-called polycrisis, if you haven't heard the term yet, you're gonna hear it like crazy. It was all the rage at this last meeting at Davos, and they're already, I follow the WEF's YouTube channel because
My father taught me many things here. He taught me, keep your friends close, but your enemies closer.
yes, that's exactly what he taught me. And so I subscribe to the WEF website, and I subscribe to their YouTube channel. And one day after I started telling everybody, you're going to start hearing this polycrisis stuff all over the place, one day after, they send me a freaking video that said, do you know what a polycrisis is? It's like you can't make this stuff up. Like, their narratives are so predictable that when, like, I'm at a point now where I just listen to enough of their talking in Davos, and I'm like, that's the fourth time I've heard this word polycrisis. And then sure enough, I'm like, this must be the next big thing. They're going to tell us this poly crisis is the reason you must follow us or we will all die. And sure enough, that's going to be the narrative, right? And it's multiple crises going on at the same time, all of which they created. So they create this multiple crises. They got their name for it in polycrisis, and they've had the name for a little while, but now it's a thing. So they promote their name for it, and now we're all going to have to start using the word polycrisis because the WEF said so. It's just amazing to me the way they trigger these narratives. You're going to start hearing polycrisis on every media station. You're going to hear it on all of these YouTube channels. You're going to hear it all over the freaking place. And it's all created by the WEF. It's all created by the WEF because that's what they're here to save us from. Howie Richardson on Facebook. Good point. If we look into everyone's family history, everyone has ancestors who have done wrong. Yeah, and it's not even that, Howie. It's just like there's a lot of people who have gone down a lot of rabbit holes, and it's, you know, some of them have gone crazy because of it, but some of them have actually, you know, learned some quality history and some stuff that's been going on. But like the point is, none of that matters. Like if we take care of our own house, right? If we just take care of our own house, like you know, I've listened to people tell me, oh, but you know, America's a corporation and this, and I'm like, stop it. Stop it. The Constitution is what it is. So even if America does function like a corporation right now, the point of the matter is that can be changed. And the only way that it can't be changed is if we continue to listen to people who don't have our best interests at heart, right? And that's all I'm trying to say to people. Like, stop listening to people that don't have your best interest at heart. I don't care what your political affiliation is. I realize the name of the channel has the word patriot in it. So Democrats run from it like the plague, right? It's like, oh my God, patriot, Trumpity Trump, 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 Trumpity Trump. And that's, you know, there's nothing I can do about that. They're always welcome in. I have them come on sometimes when we stream to Twitch. But like in the end, the message doesn't change. It's all about unity. And we have to start focusing on the issues that we agree on. And we all agree in term limits. We all agree the government has gone way overboard with its COVID restrictions and the way that it uses its regulatory agencies. And we all agree that fiscal restraints are absolutely necessary, right? For us to pass a $1.7 trillion omnibus bill right as these people are walking out the door, when we're already in the hole and inflation is through the roof, if there's anything anyone needed to understand, because there's Republicans and Democrats that voted for that garbage. So I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. They hate you. They hate you. Like this is what people need to understand. They don't like you. You're a necessary minion. That's what you are. And that's all you'll ever be to every person in the government that has any type of power. The new senator that you elected in, who's all rah-rah, you know, and these big five in the House that went, they're all great. Their hearts are all in the right place. And there are some people scattered throughout Congress and government who really are good people. But they're irrelevant. They're absolutely shut down by the beast, right? The animal, the machine, just shuts them down. And there's nothing we can do except fix it directly. And that's what this process does. Howie over at Facebook says, I also think we need to make the electoral college rules in the state level. Each county has a point system to win the state, win most counties. I noticed that one or two big cities call the shots for the rest of the state. Yeah, you know, that's for the states to deal with, though. That's not for convention of states. If the states want to, because in the end, states control the elections. So as much as I would love to say, you know, we need, you know, like, let's put in the Constitution that you need an ID. Like, that's the kind of, I'm not ready to walk into those waters. What I am ready to do is have people the same way that we activate towards convention of states is that you get active about voter ID and basic rules. Like the fact that the left has been able to literally, like, I don't know if you've ever seen the videos of like people going and talking to like students at Berkeley and stuff and listening to their responses on voter ID and like how lowly they think how little they think of minorities, and like how inept they think minorities are. Like you listen to them talk about voter ID and like, well, why do you think we need it? Well, because some black people don't have computers and they don't have access to internet and they're very much uninformed. So it's not, and it's like what? like you're sitting there listening to it, like, oh my God, how is this person not getting set on fire right here? Like how is she not just spontaneously combusting right here as she's talking and just going straight to hell? But no, this is how they think, right? But yet they're able to continue this narrative and nobody gets pissed off. And nobody gets pissed off. You know who gets pissed off? The people that are being called racist. It's such an upside down freaking world. But I'm drifting a little from topic here, but like it's such a backward freaking world that we live in. I can't I can't deal with it. What do we got? We got some more comments over here on Rumble. Let me see. Okay, so Arlo is saying he needs to connect with the Ohio group. Arlo, here's what you do. You go to our website, www.thepatriotthinktank.com, and you click on sign the petition, okay? Beneath that, there's a checkbox that you hit, I want to volunteer. And then the Ohio person who's near you, like near you, like in your district, will reach out to you. And that's how you connect with them. And then you guys can, you get out, they'll talk to you, see what you want to contribute, what you can and can't do, right? Maybe you got money to contribute, and no time, or maybe you have time and no money, or maybe you have a good idea or a skill that you could bring, maybe those types of things. I've helped a little bit here and there with like video editing and things like that. So like there's it's a machine, right? The movement's a machine. There's a lot of moving pieces, and everybody's skill helps. Everybody's skill contributes to helping the country. So get in touch with them. Every locality is different, right? Maybe you're a leader and they need your leadership skills. Maybe the district captain there is looking that maybe they don't have a state director or something, and the district captain can be the state director and you can take over their role, or vice versa. Like, I don't know. Every state's going to be different. Every locality is going to be different. And when you go in there, you're going to meet real people. You're going to get calls from real people who are organizing this stuff. Those folks that you see testifying, those folks were educated, right, and trained on the movement. They were trained on Article 5 specifically, and given a constitutional education, so that if they didn't have one already, but nonetheless, everybody could probably use a history lesson when it comes to Article 5, because I know history incredibly well, and I didn't know much about Article 5. Most of what I learned about Article 5 started at Cause University and then turned into its own animal once I started, really getting into it. But everyone needs that education in Article 5. And then once you have it, one of the ways you contribute is a social media warrior, right? And that's just, starting pages and getting the word out there and doing, it's kind of like what I'm doing, but I'm not formally involved with Cause Action, but I am a social media warrior for all intents and purposes. It's what I do, right? I'm looking over here because I got my Rumble screen here, and I'm like talking to Arla. My bad. So, but there's a million ways that you can contribute. You just have to pick one, something that you have to offer, and then go after it, right? And then go after it. And you also have to go to my t-shirt store and purchase one of these cool t-shirts for convention of states. That's another rule. I didn't put that in there, but that's what I heard. Of course, I'm kidding. But folks, I'm at the hour. This is the fourth one in a row that I've done, but I wanted to make sure that I got this out there so that people got to see it, and that we all know, we're all in the loop as to what's going on. So if you do see somebody, who's asking questions about it, and they're giving you that JBS jazz, you got some answers for them. If you ever, as always, have questions about Article 5, bring them up here live. I will answer them. I will stop what I'm talking about the second I notice it, and I will and I will jump to that to answer that question. And one more comment from Arlo Perry here on Rumble. I don't feel that the debt is rightfully that the debt is rightfully the people's. Oh yeah. All right. So I don't feel that the debt is rightfully the people's. The government has been in breach of contract. So yeah. So therefore, it's their debt. No, it's ours. It's ours. So the government is us. So I mean, we can't separate that reality, and that's why a lot of the world looks at our government and blames us for it, because in the end they have a point, right? In the end they have a point. Now we see it differently because we're here and we're on the inside, and those very people that accuse us of stuff, well, they don't take responsibility for what their government does. But the fact of the matter is, we do, we are responsible for these people, and this is again like and as I tell the international folks when they try to go down that road, I tell the American citizens too, like, this is how we fix it. There's a path. There's a path, and we can make that happen. But we have to get together. We have to unify, right? We have to unify, right? Unity is greater than diversity, right? That's the reality. That's the reality. And if we don't start realizing that, the sooner the better. We all know, right? We all know that the strategy is to divide us. We all know that. But yet we still let ourselves be divided. And the thing is, for anyone in my age, I'm Generation X, anybody me and above at least, and certainly some millennials remember a day where we used to be able to argue politics and then like chill afterwards. Like that used to be able to happen. But like something changed, and that wasn't an accident. All right. That's programming. All right. And there's no way to deprogram it unless you do it yourself. There's nothing I could tell you. Like if you're ranting and raving about one particular thing and just hating the other side so bad you can't speak. Now, if they're Marxist, screw it, hate them. like if they're Marxist, they're Marxism is the enemy of the United States. I don't care what anyone tells you. It's diametrically opposed to everything that this nation stands for. Saying that you would like this country to become Marxist is saying you would like this country to die. And if you're in that position, then you are the enemy. But that's not the place that every Democrat is in. That's not that, like, every Democrat is, even people like Bill Maher and like, a lot of these liberals who, they still have their talking points. They still are pro-abortion. They're still, pro-union, and they still hate Trump, and they still check all those boxes. But they're like, dude, women are not getting pregnant. No, I don't want this country to become Marxist. No, I don't. Like, they still care about free speech, right? Like, they're not comfortable with trying to make hate speech illegal. Like, they still have their principles and still love this country. Those people are on our side. They are our friend, not our enemy. We can argue about the other stuff after this fight is over. But until this fight is over, we need everybody we can get. We need everybody we can get, because I'll tell you, it's those same Democrats, it's the ones who still have sanity left in them, that are going to be the ones that push this movement over the top. All right? That's real talk. It's those same Democrats, when it comes time to ratify, and you need 38 states. 38 states. That means out of 99 legislative bodies across the country, because everybody has 2, except I believe Nebraska only has 1. So only 13 of those 99 legislative bodies is what it takes to shut down a proposed amendment. So if you think we're going to do this just with conservative people, you're crazy. It's going to require sane Democrats to see the light and understand the depth of the issue, and put their angry politics aside, and for us to put ours aside for the sake of a grander cause, right? For the sake of a grander cause. And once we do that, then we win. We win, and then everything changes. Everything changes. I got Real Newshead in on Rumble saying real news in the house. What's up, Real News? It says great sounding, great graphics and shtick. Props. I think, yeah, props. So Thank you. Thank you, Real News. I appreciate that. Welcome aboard. I hope we get I hope we can get you in as a subscriber, because we definitely are trying to grow the Rumble channel. I talk about it all the time, the Rumble channel. And it turns out, honestly, I've been getting more viewers on the Rumble channel than on the YouTube channel. And I think a part of that, I mean, right now, I've already been on for an hour, and I'm trying to pull up the YouTube here to see how many people. Yeah, so right now on YouTube, all right, nobody is watching. So this is one. Okay, one person on YouTube, and a large part of that is that YouTube refuses to distribute my content. I've gotten banned from there 6 times. I'm in the middle of having a strike right now. Like I can't read YouTube. But to be on, like, normally, just like a normal audience for the show would be, the first half hour, we'd have about, across platforms, maybe 30 or 40, and 40 would actually be a high number, usually around 25 or 30. And then as the show goes on, now I'm already gone over the hour. I'm 10 minutes over the hour, but I still have 11 people on Rumble right now. So shout out to Rumble, and another, between Twitch and Facebook, which probably means just Facebook. Let me see what we got on Facebook. It's not telling me on Facebook. So, but I think it's like 5 or 6 on Facebook or something like that. Anyway, the point is, so we got like 16 now or so, and we're an hour in, which for me, considering I have 16,000 followers on Facebook and 500 on Rumble, it tells you something about distribution, that I have 12 people now on Rumble and 6 on Facebook. So not that I don't appreciate every one of you on Facebook, it's just they don't alert you. And so what I tell the Facebook folks is when you follow, there's apparently, I didn't even know this existed, but there's settings to follow when you hit follow, and you can choose to get apparently notifications sometimes or all the time or whatever. But for those following Article 5, select all the time, right? If you're on Rumble, I think it's an email alert, like whatever it is that's going to get you all the alerts, do it. YouTube, I don't know if I'm talking to no one right now, but on YouTube, but like for the YouTube folks, if you happen to be watching this later, the bell, when you click it, there's an option, get all alerts, because these next few months are going to be wild. Like, we're going to have some fun on the Article 5 front, and we're going to have some, wins. And I'm dying to know who these wins are going to be. I'm dying to know, I'm dying to know what whether it's going to be Montana, who just came out of the woodwork at past committees, so they're getting ready. Well, New Hampshire will know next week, February 3rd. They're going to do an executive vote and figure out if that goes to the floor. So, and everything's starting to move now. Things are starting to move. And then Rita Peters was saying Kansas is now, something big happened in Kansas last week. So there's a good shot to get that one rolling. And what makes those 3 important is that those 3 didn't pass committee last time. So getting them past committee this time is a big deal, right? Because it means there's progress. It means more people are reading. That's really what it means, is more people are reading. More of these legislators are reading. And like the video I showed you, like I did in the intro, you're going to hear these stories from these legislators about how I used to be against it, but then I read and now I'm for it. And that's because of the folks. That's because, and kudos, and I'll give all the credit in the world to Cause Action for organizing the whole thing. But in the end, like, it's those grassroots folks, and the folks at Cause Action will tell you as well, it's you. That's who it is, folks. It's you. It's the average Joe. Those people that were testifying in the intro video, that was all in Montana. That just happened a few days ago. They're all just regular folks. Even the people in the legislature, regular folks. They're making $100 a year. They're not there for the money. They're there to serve. These are the people who the founders knew, and rightfully so, have the most power under our Constitution in this country. And that's why. That's why. We're bringing fire, folks. There's fire coming down, and we need to be a part of it. Be a part of it because we're making history. You show up to one of these cause rallies. I tell my cause folks all the time, whenever you go to a cause action rally and someone's taking photos, make sure they get your good side, because that may end up in a textbook that's going to go for the next 200 years. Trust me when I tell you that. So Arlo Pellis says Facebookers need to switch to Rumble. Yeah. Well, I have asked everybody on Facebook. I have asked everybody on Facebook to go to Rumble and subscribe. Obviously, we have 16,000 followers there, and I have 550 on Rumble, or 560. So we have some work to do there. But that being said, a lot of that is because Facebook doesn't give me access to all 16,000. So and that's why I want to move to Rumble. So, and it's not just that, it's that whenever, like, Facebook hasn't banned me yet, but what they do is they shadow ban me. So I don't know. I think that's not as bad as straight out banning, but it still sucks, right? It still sucks. And I could tell that that's what it is, but like for two reasons, it sucks. One, obviously I don't get the distribution that I want. Number two, I'm trying to figure out, I'm trying to honestly look at the channel and be like, what can I do better? Right. Like what can I do to help this word get out more? What, maybe better visuals, maybe better audio, maybe my thumbnails need to be better. Maybe I need to do shorter videos. Maybe I need to do more pre-produced stuff and less live, or, like, you're thinking about this stuff all the time. And when you're getting shadow banned and you don't know if you're being shadow banned or if it's your content. And then it's like, and for a long time, I was like, wow, it's just my content. Like, I just suck. But then I ran some experiments and realized it's not always my content. like there's also something else going on. And I learned that because the entire Facebook page would slow down at the same time. Like, even videos that were killing it would suddenly not be getting any headway. And then when I see that they all start moving again, I take one that didn't do well and post it again from scratch, and boom, it would take off. And it's the same exact video. So I'm like, I know that someone's playing with the switch, but it's like, I don't know when. I don't know if it was just a bad video or if they're playing with the switch. So it drives you nuts as a creator, because it's like if I'm on Rumble and people on Rumble will just stop watching me altogether, I know that it's my content, right? I know that I need to change something in my content because, I had this audience and there's nothing in between me and them, and I'm losing them. So like, if that happened, I know that, all right, I got to start looking inside and see what I got to do better. But like, that's the bad thing about shadow banning. And then YouTube, I'll just disappear for a week. YouTube is like, it's like, he's gone. He got COVID. I don't know what happened. Suddenly there's no videos coming out. I don't know what's going on. And meanwhile, because they don't let you communicate, they don't tell people that you've been banned. They just cut you off and be like, you're not allowed to upload for a week. And if I step out of line again, I got one strike on me still floating. It floats around for like 3 months. If I step out of line again, it's 14 days that they whack me for. And then it's gone. If you do it a third time within that time frame, you're out of there. They find you in the desert somewhere. Anyway, let me see. I'm getting much more response on you know what? Let me try this. Let me try and share this screen and see if the few I have left on Facebook can see what I have going on Rumble, so that they can maybe see the comments. I don't know how that's going to play out. Rumble doesn't integrate with anything. That's one of the things that sucks about Rumble. Rumble definitely has a ways to go when it comes to like just the user interface and like all that kind of stuff. Like, they don't all right, let me see here. So maybe, oh, there we go. There we go. So we'll do this for a little while then, so people can see the Rumble comments coming up. So we got Real Newshead here again. Great sound and great. Oh, we did that already. I just wanted to hear it again. Just kidding. So Real Newshead said, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Gab, Getter, Reddit, digitalmediausa.com, Trump. Oh my goodness. So you get around much? My goodness gracious. 13 and going. That's crazy. And then it's share to feed, share to a few, keep it up. It's the algorithms, bud. Don't fret. Yeah, I know. That's the thing. It's the algorithms, and it's it is what it is, right? So I've been at this for what now? It's coming on 2 years. April will be 2 years, and it's been a fun ride. It's been a fun ride. About a year of that we wasted. I want to say, 6 months ago we had about 1,300 followers on Facebook. So we were about a year in, a little more than a year in, and we still were at 1,300 on Facebook because I had not focused on Facebook at all. And I really am only recently focusing on Rumble. And the more I get banned and the more I get played with and the more I got to do these games, the more I'm like, I need to grow a Rumble following. Enough is enough. And that's what I'm trying to do. So I'm glad. And honestly, it's been working. So like I've been getting much more engagement from the Rumble folks, which has been awesome. What am I doing here? There we go. So trying to. All right, I need to stop this because it ain't working the way it's supposed to. So, but anyway, I'm already now that that whole Rumble conversation started, it dragged me into the next the next I'm 20 minutes over time right now. So I've been on 4 times in a row this week, which for me is a lot. I mean, maybe one day this will turn into a daily, a daily type of thing, but I don't see that happen immediately. I do have a full-time career because this is not only Facebook is monetized and they're playing with me in a crazy way. So I ain't exactly ready to walk away from my from my career yet. But what's cool about the Facebook monetization though is that at least it covers the expense of doing the channel. And that's that's a big deal is having that expense covered. I mean, it was costing me a good 250, 300 a month to, to just to subscribe to different video editing platforms and, my monthly subscriptions to things like Premiere and Adobe stuff and, visualization stuff and, whatever. There's a bunch of side stuff that goes into it. Little things, $10 here, $15 there, $30 there, but it adds up. And now like Facebook more than covers that cost, although since they started this last shadow ban seems to be lasting a lot longer than the normal one, so I don't know if it's permanent or whatever, but we'll find out. So this is from Real News. Says I was one away from 500 on Facebook. They sent me a message, said they helped me clean up my inactive members. I watched my members drop to 248. Well, that's nice. Great help, guys. That's where it stays. Ugh, exactly. Yeah. So they haven't done that to me yet. And like, I guess I guess I don't know. I don't know how all that runs. The only thing I know for sure is that, monetizing on Rumble is probably where I need to be. And so that's what I'm trying to get to. I would love to be able to just do this, and be able to put more time into the research and even hire a producer and so I could do more research and less time video editing and less time, doing all that kind of stuff. And that's why I started coming on live, because it's just with my career and everything else, it's hard to. I'm a one-man show, so I'm producing. I'm trying to create. I'm coming on live. I got to research. I got to edit. I got to work. And then at some point I got to have a family and enjoy my family. So, we play that game. But until then, so look, Real News, I appreciate you on Rumble. Arlo, second time I've seen you out, so I appreciate you as well. You can definitely help me out by spreading the word. That is always welcome because I need some insiders on Rumble, to really kind of help me get this ball rolling and we are on Twitter as well. So I just started Twitter. So it's very raw on Twitter. Like technically we opened an account in like October 2021, but I never used it because I just hated Twitter. And but now like people are convincing me now that Elon Musk is there, it's free speech. You should get on. It's going to help the channel. And they're probably right. So I just started it. So it's at patriotthinktank.com, but it's Patriot and Think start with the end and start with the same T. It's not two T's. They made me do that. I forget why, but that's what our Twitter is. So, folks, you can definitely check us out there. But now I've gone on again for an additional 4 minutes, 124. I'm going to have to call this a day. I got beer waiting for me, and I need to enjoy myself at some point. So thank you, everyone, for your support. Until next time.
And like that,